Hey everyone, just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about something kind of it's been bothering me since I first heard about it, but then last night when I saw the video, actually a couple videos, it's really been disturbing me even more. Those of who know me and have watched my channel long enough, they know that I've been into trains for quite a long time, since I was 2 years old. Both model and prototype, the full-scale trains. And if you've known me long enough, you also know that I take railroad safety very seriously. Especially ever since back when I was in high school, a friend of mine was killed in a car train accident. So, safety around trains is not something I joke around about, not something that I take very lightly at all. Every time I go out rail fanning, it seems like I'm always seeing someone, trying to beat the train or, uh, trespassing out on the railroad tracks, that kind of thing. And, it always irritates me because it's like, you're taking your life in your own hands and everything. But the issue that prompted this video was actually happened a week ago last night. It's on the evening of September 16th. It's a Friday night, and apparently out in Colorado there was a report that was called into the police about a road rage incident. Apparently some female driver in a pickup had waved a gun at someone or something like that, and I'm not sure exactly what it was. I'd have to go back through all the news stories to find out exactly what, but anyways, there was a Platteville police officer who saw a vehicle matching the description of the road rage incident. He pulls the vehicle over. Basically, it's a divided highway, and the vehicle pulled off onto a side road that basically, as soon as you turn onto the side road, you go over a railroad crossing, and the vehicle stopped just on the other side of the crossing. The Platteville officer pulls up onto the crossing and stopping behind the vehicle, or behind the truck with his cruiser on the tracks. It was an unprotected crossing, no lights or gates, just X-shaped crossbucks and stop signs. Two Fort Lupton officers arrive, pulling behind him to back him up and everything. They basically get the 20-year-old woman to come out of the vehicle. They've got the guns drawn on her. They detain her, basically just for security, which, I mean, I can understand, if guns involved, detaining a suspect to make sure everything's secure and no one's going to be drawing a gun on you or anything like that. I can understand that. Anyways, they handcuff her and they put her in the back of the cruiser that is on the railroad track. While they're searching the vehicle, a train came along and hit the cruiser. The woman thankfully did survive. From what I've heard from her, what they've said online from her attorney, she's got several broken ribs, broken arm, fractured sternum, and several other injuries. Not to mention, as you can probably imagine, the trauma of seeing a train coming at you and you can't get off the tracks. And initially it was questioned about what caused or how did this whole thing transpire. But yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I didn't see the videos until last night, but they've released edited video from the Fort Lupton officers, from body cam and dash cam footage showing what happened. And then there's also an uncut body cam video of the Platteville officer showing what was even more disturbing, in my opinion. But the two videos, I got them in the description down below this video. I got our links to them in the description of this video. But basically, there's some things that bother me, really bother me when watching this video, or these videos, because, you know, these are men and women who are supposed to be serving and protecting the public and everything. And, you know, they put someone in custody, you put someone in custody in the cruiser, and you got them in handcuffs. You know, you're responsible for their safety. And these three officers obviously failed big time. But what bothers me about the videos is, you know, one, the Platteville officer left his cruiser on the tracks. Now, you know, it is situational awareness kind of thing. He was kind of focused on the pickup he was pulling over. But, you know, he could have easily gotten on the loudspeaker and said, "Hey, man, pull your vehicle forward so I can get off the tracks," that kind of thing. But he didn't apparently, and that basically snowballed into the rest of the incident that happened. The two Fort Lupton officers arrive, and the female officer's body camera footage, you can clearly see, you know, that they are on a railroad crossing. I mean, it's plain and simple. They had highly reflective crossbucks and the reflective stripes in the poles and everything. And at no point in any of the videos do the officers contact their dispatcher and say, "Hey, let the railroad know that we've got a police situation here on the tracks. You know, stop the trains," or warn them that they might have to stop out here. They also don't call the 800 number that's on these little blue placards that are at all railroad crossings in the United States now, that have the emergency number of the railroad as well as the crossing identification number. They did nothing to contact the railroad and let them know to stop the trains, that there's an issue out, or a police video or a police situation out on the tracks. So they get the woman out of the cruiser, or out of her pickup, handcuff her, put her in the cruiser that's on the tracks. None of the officers decide, well, they then immediately check the pickup for any other people in the pickup. Upon seeing no one else in the pickup, they don't do anything to de-escalate the situation and say, "Hey, let's move the cruiser off the tracks to a safer spot." They just leave this woman in the cruiser on the tracks while they start searching the vehicle for this supposed gun. I say supposed because I'll get to that in a moment as why I'm highly suspicious of this. The Platteville officer, he's in the driver's side of the pickup. The female Fort Lupton officer, she's in the passenger side of the pickup. They're searching the front of the vehicle. They don't apparently find anything, move to the back seat, and they're talking, and you can hear in the background the train blowing the horn for the crossing. Neither officer reacts to it or anything. And they don't actually even acknowledge that there's a train coming until literally a few seconds before it hits the cruiser. The other officer, the male Fort Lupton officer, he was standing on the crossing next to the cruiser. According to the woman's attorney, she was screaming at the officers that there was a train coming. None of the officers were paying any attention to her. How the officer that was standing next to the cruiser on the crossing, and keep in mind, this is after dark. And so, you know, a train's coming, it's got its headlight on bright, it's got the ditch lights down below that. How that officer didn't see or hear the train approaching when he was standing on the side of the cruiser facing the train. And he didn't get up, and in the video he basically shouted at the other officers, "Stay clear," or "Get back," or something, and calmly walks away from the vehicle, leaving this woman basically to get hit by a train. At no point, I mean, literally, I mean, if they would have paid attention and, you know, seen the train coming. You know, I don't know if there would have been enough time to get the cruiser off But you know, they could have easily opened the door, grabbed this woman, and dragged her quickly out of the cruiser and off the tracks. She might have had a few bruises or something from being roughly pulled out of the cruiser like that. But they just left her there to get hit. And that really disturbed me. And then in the uncut body cam video from the Platteville officer, you see the train hitting you hear the train hitting the cruiser, because the officer kind of ducked down, probably to shield himself from getting hit with debris. And then while you hear the train screeching to a stop, he turns to the Fort Lupton officer, female officer, and asks her, I think it was about 3 times, was she in the vehicle? And at which point the Fort Lupton officer realizes, oh my God, she was in the vehicle. And it's like, how do you not know where the person you've just put in handcuffs, and this is a woman that put her in the vehicle. The female Fort Lupton officer put her in the vehicle, and then forgot that she was in the vehicle before the train came along. How do you forget where the person you're stopping is located at? I mean, and then she calls her dispatcher. I don't know if the 2 departments were on the same dispatcher or not. Probably not, because they were different towns. She calls her dispatcher, saying to send EMS because the woman they had detained was in the vehicle when it got hit. The Platteville officer, he starts going, oh fuck, oh fuck. He calls his dispatcher and just tells them, send EMS, my cruiser was hit by a train. Doesn't say anything about someone was in the vehicle when it got hit. He just says, send EMS, my cruiser's been hit by a train. And then on the edited video, you see the rescue squad. Apparently they'd already gotten her out of the vehicle, the smashed cruiser, which they did show the cruiser. How she survived is a miracle. But apparently after the rescue squad shows up and she's in their squad, they go back to searching the vehicle, the pickup that they had stopped. And they show the cops searching the vehicle. They searched, and there's actually deputies on hand now, because the deputies had shown up, not the actual original cops, I don't think. But anyways, then one deputy's like, oh, we got a couple rounds over here, and then he holds up, here's your gun. And this is where I have an issue here. The 2 cops, the Platteville officer and the female Fort Lupton officer, they were searching the front seat and floorboard. Didn't find a gun before the train hit. Suddenly, after the train hits, and there's some editing in the video, suddenly they're finding a gun and ammunition in the front seat. And now, if it comes back, the gun came back there's been no word. I haven't heard anything about who the gun was registered to that they had found. But it's like, okay, if it does come back to the woman did say, before the accident, she did say, tell the cops, no, there's no weapons in the vehicle. If it comes back that the gun is registered to her, yes, she would be in trouble and have some explaining to do. But it seems so convenient that, the cops don't find anything at first. Then they realize that they screwed up by putting her on the train tracks, and then suddenly they're finding a gun. Now, I know that, officers planting evidence is a pretty serious charge, but it has happened. There was, I think sometime this past year, there was a cop, I can't remember where, I think it was actually featured on the Audits channel that I subscribed to. And the cop's body camera caught him, he had stopped a woman that was broken down in the middle lane of a road somewhere, and this cop had while putting on his gloves to search the vehicle with her consent, you see him drop a baggie onto the front floorboard. And then after he gets his gloves on, he's like, "Oh, hey, what's this baggie doing here?" And his body camera basically caught him in the act of dropping it in the vehicle and planting it in the vehicle. So cops planting stuff in vehicles does happen. Was it in this case? I'm not sure. The video was edited. I mean, suddenly they go from approaching the vehicle, or the smashed cruiser, to suddenly they're back to searching the vehicle. If the gun comes back that's not registered to her, or it's stolen or something like that, there's going to be some questioning about, where'd this gun come from? And that's what I'm wondering is, it just seems to me too convenient that they screw up big time with her safety, and then suddenly, oh, hey, here's that gun we were looking for that caused this whole thing. And the Platteville officer, one thing he was doing too was commenting about the whole time about how, well, she took a long time to pull over. She was driving really slow and took a long time to pull over. Well, you think about it, a 20-year-old woman driving alone. It's at night. I'm not sure what time of night it was. I have to look at the videos again, but it's after dark. There are police impersonators around. We've had a few people here around Central Ohio getting arrested, for impersonating cops. So, that time of night, I'd be a little nervous about pulling over in the middle of nowhere, too, if someone was pulling me over. So, I can't really fault her for, not pulling over right away. I mean, she slowed down, and if she's going to try and get away or something, she would have sped up. I thought she's not going to slow down and let the cops, keep pace with her. And I don't know, just the whole thing. And the other thing too, with if there is a gun charge against her, one of the news channels I was watching on YouTube that had the story on, they were talking to one of their legal analysts, and basically they said that the district attorney of that county is going to be in a bit of a bind right now, because if the cops decide they're going to charge this woman with gun possession, that's going to be a conflict of interest for the district attorney, because this woman already has an attorney and is going to be pressing charges against the police department for negligence. So, I mean, you think about it, if you're a district attorney, how do you handle the charges against two parties going against each other like that? But in my opinion, all three of the officers, they need to be fired. And not just fired, but like the legal analyst that was talking about the conflict of interest on the two charges against the two parties against each other. That was criminal. It's criminal negligence, basically, is what it comes down to. I mean, who in their right mind leaves a vehicle parked on the tracks with someone locked in the vehicle? I mean, that is just plain freaking stupidity. But I mean, all three of those cops, though, in my opinion, need to be fired. And what? Now you're probably thinking, okay, why did all three, not just the one that left his cruiser on the tracks? Well, the guy that left his cruiser on the tracks definitely needs to be fired, because he was completely unaware or didn't pay attention to what was going on around him, then left his vehicle on the tracks. 2, you got this female officer who puts the suspect in the vehicle and forgets about her. And it's like, no one makes any mention of, maybe we should move the vehicle off the tracks or anything. You have the third officer, the Fort Lupton officer, who was standing outside of the vehicle, should have easily seen and heard the train coming, and then just calmly walks off the tracks and lets the woman get hit. And also, all three of the officers, I mean, did they even contact their dispatcher or call the railroad to let them know, hey, there's a situation out here, we need to stop the trains from coming through? As far as I know, they didn't do any of that. And, I mean, it's just complete negligence on all three of the officers' parts for what happened to this woman. And, you know, she wasn't arrested, but she was being detained until the situation got sorted out, which, I mean, I can understand that. But, you know, you don't put someone in a vehicle, lock them in the handcuffed and locked in the vehicle, and then just leave them in harm's way. I mean, that is just plain stupidity. And things that always get me, too, with this is, why is it, you know, you see on the news people leaving their kids in locked vehicles in the summertime, and something happens to the kids, and then the parents are arrested or put in jail or whatever, and the news media puts all the parents' names and pictures all over the place and everything. Yet this incident like this happens, and they're not releasing the names or identity of the officers involved. It's like, what's the difference? I mean, they fucked up, basically, with this woman's safety. They should be held accountable and let the public know who it is, like they do with everyone else. It doesn't matter if they're behind a badge or what. I mean, in my opinion, they don't deserve to be behind a badge right now. But, and not only that, but, you know, the one officer, I think it was the Platteville officer, they said was put on paid administrative leave. And it's like, you know, any other job you screw up something that bad, you get fired. And these cops screw up, and they get a paid vacation. That doesn't make sense. I mean, where is the justice in that and everything? It's going to come down on them. I mean, granted, there's no way they're going to be able to bullshit their way out of, you know, oh, we left a woman on the tracks to get hit by a train. Yeah, they're not going to be able to get out of this, I don't believe. But it's like, you know, sorry for getting worked up, but it's just seeing that amount of stupidity in the videos. It was just, it's mind-boggling. And because, you know, I've always supported law enforcement and first responders, but, you know, it's bad apples like these three who give law enforcement a bad name. And in addition to the woman, you know, getting hurt and now most probably going to be doing a lawsuit against the police department and the officers involved, you know, I would think that the railroad, or at least even the train crew, should get in on filing a lawsuit against these officers, because, I mean, you think about it. I mean, train crews deal with a lot of crap with trespassers and people not following the rules and being safe at crossings and everything. But these were three cops that basically put this woman out on the tracks in danger. And it's like someone said on one of the comments on one of the YouTube videos from the news stories on this, you know, back in the olden days of black and white movies, there used to be, you used to see the whole stereotypical villain tying a woman to the tracks and leaving her there for the train to hit her, and then the hero swoops in and saves her at the last moment. Well, in this case, it's in the modern version, you know, the heroes turns out to be, the L3 turned out to be the villain. So, but anyways, I've probably gone on long enough about this, but, you know, what are your views on this? I mean, what should happen to these officers, if anything? You know, I'm pretty sure everyone I'm hearing is pretty much in agreement, you know, that legal action needs to be taken against them. But, you know, what do you think should happen to these officers? You know, is it just me, or is it suspicious that, you know, they conveniently found that gun after they screwed up? Let me know what you think in the comments below. So hopefully I didn't ramble on too long, but like I said, it's railroad safety is a topic that I just don't take very lightly, and seeing these men and this woman who are supposed to be protecting people, instead putting someone in harm's way like that, it really gets to me. So anyways, thanks for listening. Comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.